Imagine this. 170,000 people were celebrating before the match was even over. Newspapers had already prepared victory headlines. Politicians were ready to congratulate the team. A nation believed the World Cup belonged to them. And then, silence. The silence of 170,000 people, realizing they had just witnessed something nobody thought was possible. How did the most confident team in football lose the one match they simply could not afford to lose? The answer begins in Brazil in 1950. After World War II, the world was desperate for hope, and when Brazil was chosen to host the tournament, it became more than football. It became a symbol of a brighter future. At the center of that dream stood a giant, the Maracanã Stadium, a concrete monster built to hold nearly 200,000 spectators. But there was one thing still missing: a World Cup trophy. And as the tournament progressed, Brazil looked unstoppable. They weren't simply winning, they were destroying opponents. Spain lost 6-1, Sweden lost 7-1. But here's where the story takes a strange turn. Brazil only needed a draw against Uruguay to become champions. Just a draw. Meanwhile, Uruguay looked like an afterthought, a small nation of barely 2 million people. How could such a tiny country compete against football's new superpower? On July 16, 1950, the Maracanã became the center of the world. More than 170,000 fans poured into the stadium. But inside the Uruguayan dressing room, one man saw things differently. Captain Obdulio Varela. He gathered his teammates. His message was simple. The crowd doesn't score goals. The newspapers don't score goals. The politicians don't score goals. Only players do. When the match began, Brazil attacked relentlessly. For long stretches, it seemed only a matter of time. Then came the second half, and the moment every Brazilian had been waiting for. Brazil scored. The stadium exploded. The score was 1-0. Only minutes remained. The World Cup was theirs. Or so everyone believed. But this is where the story becomes unbelievable. Instead of collapsing, Uruguay grew stronger. Almost as if the goal had awakened something inside them. They began attacking, taking risks. In the 66th minute, Juan Alberto Schiaffino scored 1-1. The stadium suddenly became quieter. Not silent, but uneasy. For the first time all afternoon, doubt appeared. Could something be wrong? Could the impossible actually happen? Pressure was growing. Every minute felt longer. And then came the moment that would haunt Brazil forever. 79 minutes. Uruguay launched another attack. Alcides Ghiggia sprinted down the right side. Brazilian defenders expected a cross. The goalkeeper expected a cross. Nearly everyone expected a cross. Instead, Ghiggia did something nobody anticipated. He shot. The ball slipped past goalkeeper Moacir Barbosa into the net. 2-1. For a split second, nobody reacted. It was as if reality itself had frozen. And suddenly, 170,000 people stopped making noise. The remaining minutes felt endless. Uruguay defended with everything they had. Then the whistle blew, and football history changed forever. Uruguay were world champions. The underdog had defeated the giant. The impossible had happened, but the consequences reached far beyond sport. Some fans fainted, others wept openly. The defeat became known as the Maracanazo. Goalkeeper Barbosa became the face of the disaster. For decades, many blamed him for the defeat, a burden he carried for the rest of his life. On that July afternoon, one team carried the weight of an entire nation. The other carried only belief, and in the end, belief proved stronger. 75 years later, the image remains unforgettable. A packed stadium, 170,000 voices, and then nothing. Because sometimes the loudest moment in sports history is not the cheering, it's the silence that comes after the impossible becomes real.